Before we move into our grounding exercise, I wanted to honor the depth of what was shared today in the Wellness Wednesday. We explored something so very human, the way our thinking shapes our experience. Throughout the conversation, a few themes kept rising. First, awareness. We noticed how easily the mind can slip into old patterns, comparison, self judgment, fear, imagined outcomes that feel real only because we've rehearsed them so many times. We also saw how much compassion appears the moment we recognize this is just where my mind goes. Second, the power of perspective. Several insights came forward that the same moment can be experienced entirely differently by two people, that we often assume our reflexive thought is truth, and that our initial interpretation is rarely the whole story. We noticed how quickly we can give ourselves a hard time for having a preference, for getting thrown off, for simply being human. And yet, every shift in understanding brought relief. The third thing that came up was the habit of anticipating the worst. We reflected on how fear often creates an entire narrative before anything has actually happened, and how exhausting yet profoundly human that process can be. And finally, the idea that change might simply be remembering what we already knew. That sometimes the insight isn't new, it's a rediscovery, a moment where something inside us says, yes, I knew this. I just wasn't ready to see it until now. Every story today pointed towards the simple truth. When we pay attention to our thinking, we reclaim our experience. And when we change how we meet the moment changes with us. And with that, I invite you to move into a grounding exercise with me to help integrate everything that surfaced and return to that quieter place within ourselves where clarity naturally lives. I invite you to take a moment, maybe find yourself where you are comfortable. Maybe you're putting your feet flat on the floor or in a supported position. And just to notice that this might be a moment to arrive. Wherever you are, allow your body to settle a little more than it was a moment ago. Nothing forced, nothing dramatic. Maybe just a soft exhale that tells your nervous system, I am here now. Feel the gentle weight of your body supported beneath you. You might notice the air on your skin, or maybe even the rise and the fall of your breath, or the quiet fact that you are alive and present. I invite you to let your next breath be just 1 degree slower. Not because you must, not because of my words, but maybe simply because you can. And as you breathe, become curious about the space inside of you, the quiet room behind all thoughts, the still point that exists underneath every story the mind tells. Thoughts may come, they may always do. Some might be familiar, maybe even a quick comparison or a loop of worry, maybe even a fear that you've met many times before, or the habit of imagining the worst before anything has even begun. If a thought appears, don't push it away. Don't argue with it or try to control it. Simply notice it. Notice it the way you might notice a cloud drifting across the sky. You might gently think, ah, this is where my mind goes, and I have a choice. Imagine placing each thought that arises gently onto a river, letting it float by without needing to follow it. Maybe you might return your attention now to your breath, or maybe even to your body, to the steadiness that exists underneath the movement and the noise. And maybe even you might see that if you can notice the energy of your morning, that feeling, that state that you were the moment that you awoke and opened your eyes, not the task before you, not the pressure that was coming, but that moment that your first eyes opened, that simple, untouched baseline before the world arrived. I invite you to reconnect with that calm. Notice that that is still available. It has always been available. And with each breath, drop a little deeper into that steady place that doesn't demand perfection, a place where you don't need to compare or to anticipate or judge yourself for being human. Let a small warmth spread through your chest or any other part of your body. A gentle permission to be exactly as you are. Nothing to fix, nothing to prove. Here in this quiet space, you can choose a different direction. From tension to softening, from fear to curiosity, from judgment to understanding, from overthinking to presence. And I invite you to take one last slow breath. Let it fill you with the calm that belongs to you. I invite you to let it anchor you in every truth that makes this moment a chance to begin again. And when you're ready, and only when you're ready, I invite you to gently return, carrying this softness with you, a reminder that your experience can change the moment that you shift your thinking.